Okay, here we have a 2001 E320. In my opinion, probably one of the better Mercedes-Benz that were made. Good engine, good transmission. It's way more reliable than the newer vehicles. Just point out some things that were real common on these. These have been replaced, but they had long lug bolts that actually stuck out flush with the rim, and a lot of times they would seize in there and twist and they would break off. So that would be one of the major problems that they had with this car. Also on the earlier years, they had issues with the spring perch that would actually detach or rust off from the body of the car. That was a big problem. These E-classes also have rattling noise in the front end. A lot of times the ball joints would cause noise, and also these front sway bar bushings. This one's not too bad, but the sway bar would move around inside this bushing and create a rattling, knocking sound going over bumps. Also, when jerking the steering wheel left and right. Same with these, as your sway bar links. These would also, the bushing would just get worn out in there, and sway bar would move around. In general, pretty good cars. Back in the day, these cats would rattle. Just sitting at idle or whatever, you hear a rattling sound in your vehicle. It was the catalytic converters that would go bad. Also, rear brake hoses, they would dry, rot, and crack. That's pretty much standard on all Mercedes. And these coil springs, they'd look fine here, but you look down there in the control arm and they'd be rusted and broken. They also had issues with this transmission plug that would actually leak trans fluid and just cause a leak. You'd see it around here in the front right corner of the transmission pan. Also, sometimes the fog lights won't work. It's usually due to the wiring. The ground wire would be rusted, or the wire would be broken, or basically just rust in general on the wiring, the pins. Same with these side markers. The harness where the bulb plugs in, water would get down inside the harness, corrode the socket plug, and then your light wouldn't work. And if you pull the bulb out, you'll see it's all corroded inside the socket. Looking under the hood here, this is a V6. They also had a V8. V6 is the 112 motor, V8 is the 113. They do have 2 spark plugs per cylinder, so this vehicle has 12 spark plugs. The V8 obviously has 16, so they can get expensive. Sometimes if you have misfires, a lot of times it has to do with these wires, because obviously you have 2 wires per spark plug. They were pretty common with valve cover leaks on these vehicles on both sides. Sometimes the belt tensioners, they'd get weak and they'd start rattling, kind of make a rattling noise under the hood. All Mercedes-Benz have issues with this upper idler pulley. Sometimes they'd start making like a whining, droning sound when the vehicle is running. It'll change with engine speed. But in my opinion, this was one of the most trouble-free, reliable engines that Mercedes-Benz ever made. This vehicle had a one wiper arm setup, so the wiper arm would move and this piece would articulate. It'll come up here and it'll come down as it's going around, it'll go back up. So there's a piston in here. A lot of times the piston would get really dry and the wiper wouldn't work. So if you lube it up, usually it would fix it. You can actually pop this off and you'll see the rod in there, the piston. All these old E-classes had issues with the taillights, with the circuit boards back here would start to melt. You would also get pitting and scoring where you put the socket in, and it would actually get pits, and then the socket wouldn't make contact. Sometimes if you play with it, move it around a little bit, it'll start working. But usually all the E-Class 210 chassis E-Classes need replacement taillights for that issue. One little cool trick that these cars had for the trunk light, you can actually pull the switch out and the light would go off in case you had the trunk lid open. The vehicle battery is under the rear seat in these cars. In general, they were really good vehicles. During the time when they were produced, yeah, they had their issues compared to a Japanese vehicle, but compared now to other German Mercedes-Benz, these were the good ones.